All right, I'm Dr. Cheryl Clarke, and I'm excited to be with you on today. It's an exciting day. Why? Because it's Tuesday. Tuesday, I come live every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I come just to give you this power talk, just to give you a power boost in the morning. You may be moving around right now. You may be getting ready for work. You may be just moving. You may be jucking and shiving or whatever you're doing. But I want you to take a moment and I want you to listen to the call. And I want you to begin to understand this is your moment. This is your moment. This is your time. Well, this is your first time here. I want to welcome you. I'm Dr. Cheryl Clarke. And I come every morning. Like I said, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm not here to take it there professional way. I'm here to give you some tools to get you into the space of understanding how you can take a moment for yourself, how you can begin to see how you are, move in the space, finding your power, moving with your power, knowing that you have power, knowing that when you step into a room, that listen, girl, you cute. Girl, you cute. All right, so I start off right now with my book. If you haven't gotten it already, go ahead and go to Amazon.com. You gotta just plug in, girl, you cute, and you can begin to move in that season, all right? And grab you a copy. So let's start off in the Speak Your Power Now declaration. Today, I reclaim my power of purpose. Today, I declare that I have unshakable faith and confidence in my uniqueness. Today, I declare that I will not live in fear, but with power, love, and a sound mind. Today, I declare that I always communicate with words to empower myself and others. Today, I declare to always honor myself by living in the present and living powerfully in each moment. Amen and Ashe. Now, I want to say something here. I think that is very important for me to get to as I'm this time of this recording is like almost at the end of the year. And reflecting on why I created Speak Your Power Now. And essentially, we all have stories of why, of how stories are being told in our lives, how we speak, how we move. And when it comes down to speaking your power now, this is really about how you can begin to reclaim your voice, how you can be able to look at yourself and say that I do have power to express myself. But at times, I may get tongue tied. At times, I may not know what to say. At times, I feel powerless. At times, I may feel like someone has taken my power away, or I've given it away, or I became a people pleaser, whatever that may look like for yourself. And when that looks that way, sometimes you may not have the words to say. So let me just say that Speak Your Power Now was created. It's not for you to learn how to public speaking, not it's not for you to learn how to sing. But even though you may get some things out of public speaking through what I teach here, but I'm talking about the voice inside of you that has been quiet for so long. You almost forgot that she exists, or maybe you never really cultivated her. So, for the next 20 minutes or so in this space, I want you to claim this space as your voice recovery. It's not going to be no judgment. It's not fixing you. It's just you connecting with your voice. See, connecting with your voice, what I've learned as a therapist, and maybe as a Black woman too, I've seen maybe hundreds of women and that look like me, that be successful, they're smart, they're strong, and now they have all of it's something that we have in common. We've lost our voice along the way, some kind of way. Some of us have lost our voice, and that may not be you. And not because we're weak, not because we didn't have anything to say, but because the world at times teaches us that our voice can be dangerous. You're too loud, you're too opinionated, you're too much, you're too emotional, too black, right? So we learned across the time to shrink. And a lot of times we smile when we want to scream inside or outside and say, it's fine. And inside, you're drowning. You're drowning in your own self. And as I've known as a therapist, silence can make you sick. It can turn into anxiety. It can turn into depression. You can feel like you're living someone else's life. How many of us have lived probably someone else's life? Someone told you to go to nursing school. I was just in a conversation with a young lady, and she was living in a culture where she did not want to become a nurse. But her parents said, you should be a nurse. And all the fabric and the fiber in her, she's like, I don't want to be a nurse. And there's certain thing I said, so we have to get down to why she wasn't able to speak in a space and how she can make her voice and recover her voice and be able to move in that. So when that happens, I've seen it time and time again. So the voice recovery method that I created really helps women to find their voice. And see, the thing is, what I am working with brown and black community is because there's something called, I called it cultural silencing. And this isn't personal. This is not about your personal confidence. This is more about how you learned how to survive. Those strategies that we've learned through generation through generation through generations. Don't talk back, even if you're right. Don't even ask the questions. Keep going with the plan. Don't ruffle the feathers. Think twice, right? You don't want to rock the boat, Cheryl. I was
Mm,
always getting in trouble because I really said a lot of things, but I didn't know how to say it in a way that was effective. I always got,
mm,
had to insult somebody to get my point across,
mm,
and that did not work. So in the moment, you got to look at yourself and say, how do I now get my point across? Because I know I got something to say. So then what happens to us strong black women, right? That myth, that strong black woman. What really happens is we begin to suffer in silence, right? Just be grateful that you're in the room. Just be grateful they called your name. And the message really comes from our family and doing school, at work, even sometimes at church. They come from people who loved us and they thought they were protecting us. But the truth is that protection now begins to suffocate you. You weren't born to be silent. Put that down. I wasn't born to be silent. You learned how to be silent. And as a therapist here, and as somebody that understood what that looks like, how you could be effective with your voice, you could unlearn how to be silent. You could unlearn for apologizing in the space for yourself. You can unlearn how to stop shrinking around others that you think is more qualified than you, or shrinking because you want to make them feel comfortable. Creating someone else's emotions, making them feel comfortable while ignoring your own. That's not strength. I call that a trauma response. And I talk about that because there's three areas that I deal with when your voice needs to be recovered. When your voice needs to be recovered, you need to identify the stories that the first thing you need to do is identify the stories that you've been telling yourself. The stories that you've been telling yourself even about your voice. I can't speak up because if I say this, that what would they think about me? That was mine. How would they look at me? What would people think? That's why when I wrote this book, it's it's a memoir, but it's also a guide in here to show people, to show women and show young women and young children, the caretakers, how to begin to really show up for these young women. And then you can show up for, see, actually, the solution, what I found out, that those challenging thoughts, when they do come up, they have a story that's going in, that's playing and programmed in the back of your head. And you're on autopilot and you have no idea that you are. So what I've created, I've weaved in some therapeutic tools of cognitive behavior and solution focus. I've put that in and weaved it inside of there, just the techniques and the principles that I see that worked. See, you don't have to stay stuck in the past. So we want you to focus on the strengths that you already have. What do you desire? What is the one small step that I can make today? What's already working in my life that I could build on? And recognizing that there may have been some trauma that has happened along the way. Recognize what silenced your voice. Recognizing those experiences was real, but they also shut you down. They also was very dismissing. They also was very punishing you for not speaking up or speaking up when you do. So I want in this space to be able to honor you, honor your voice while creating new pathways of speaking. See, I want you to think about this a little bit. This is not the motivational speaking type of thing. This is a power talk, but it's a power talk with evidence based work. It's designed specifically for you, it's designed specifically for your experience. So, in the voice recovery, what I do is that the first thing we do is validate your experience. Your silence makes sense because you've gone through so much. So validate it. Start by honoring your story. Don't dismiss it anymore. It happened. And then, because I take the acronym of VOICE, VOICE, and that's the first V is validate your voice, validate your experience. And the O, observe the patterns. Now, this is where you can really find your strengths at. Because once you observe your patterns, you're aware of it. When you're silent, when do you become silent? And with whom? What triggers you? Right? What can't you change that you feel like you can't say or because of what you've seen? I want you to look at that today. Look at that during out your week. Then the I in the voice is for to identify what your truth is, what your power is, what you actually think, feel, desire. Not what's supposed to you, someone else thinks that you're supposed to say, but what you're feeling. This is why the mirror method works. And I keep my mirror right here. Because you got to look at her in the face and face that mirror. And this is radical honesty. I got to look at my mirror and say, Cheryl, what do you think? Cheryl, girl, get it together. Let's go. You got this. You are the woman for the job. So what? They called you stupid. So what? Girl, you cute. Yeah, look in that mirror and say that. You see the C is for you choose the response. You're not powerless. Even in the situation that you can't control the outcome. There's not every outcome you're gonna be able to control. So you could choose how you show up. Practice small acts of your voice. And the E is for expression. So many of us are not self-expressed. You've been in this world and you've probably been performing. Yeah, you've been performing. How many people have been on a job that they know that they did not choose for themselves, but they've been just performing like it's okay? And I want to say that just as you are, you can begin to take up your space that you deserve. See, the framework works because it meets you where you are, and then it gives you concrete steps to move you forward. So as I developed Girl UQ, now it's getting ready to go into curriculum, into which I'm excited about, into schools. It's a journey for women, brown and black women, to recover their authentic voice and to work alongside our allies that may not know how to treat us, to work alongside our caregivers that may not understand us, and then work with yourself so you could be a grown woman and it's never too late. This is why your specific story makes sense. Now we got to go deeper. This is why you got to discover that you're not alone. This is why these groups work. This is why you got to find organizations and workplaces and things of that nature and do the daily practices, do the mirror work, do the things that you've been telling yourself that you got to recover. Voice recovery. See, your voice matters. Say, my voice matters. Put that in the chat. My voice matters. This is not a theory. This is not just a theory. I want you to know this is just not motivation, because a lot of people say, oh, you're a motivational speaker. No, I am someone that has been with women that specifically their voice, their opinion, their expectations, the experience, it all matters. And you got to look at yourself and say to myself, I'm no longer staying quiet. Now, there's ways that you can effectively get your point across. Yelling is not one of them. I was a yeller. Leaving is not one of them. Apologizing is not one of them. But it's you standing in that space, knowing that you're worthy to be heard, getting your thoughts together, knowing that your voice is a gift, knowing that you're choosing today to be in the space, and knowing that you don't have to carry anyone else's comfortability, but you can stand in your own power in this space and be able to speak your power now. So I hope this blessed you, and I'm going to open up any questions or comments that you may have right now, or coaching ability, or anything that struck you that you would like to talk about. This is your time.
Good morning, this is Charlotte. I just wanted to say thank you for this and hi. and
Hi.
and what resonated is that there have been so many times when excuse me, it's my morning voice. So many times when I felt like I did not have a voice and I couldn't say anything, and I was in rooms where, you know, I just wasn't supposed to speak. And I'm grateful for this because it's a constant reminder. It's like I've come through a journey. And now, and there's been rooms where I will say this, that people have validated me to speak, right? So it's like, okay, when I was working at a particular place, the people that I worked for, the black women that were there were like, no, this is your meeting, you do this. And so I was given that power, but I wasn't always given that power, right? And so now in what you're teaching, because of the power within us, I know that whatever space I'm in, to own who I am and speak when appropriate, and also use the voice that I have to voice my opinion. And I guess the bottom line is I didn't always think that my opinion mattered.
Mm.
But now I know my opinion matters. And I'm not supposed to be silent. It matters. So I just really appreciate you for that and for speaking these words today. Thank you, Dr. Cheryl.
Oh my goodness. How many of us can relate to that? That, oh, I won't say that my opinion doesn't matter. They don't really want to hear me. That's apologizing for taking up space that you don't really even matter. But that didn't come from her. That came from conditioning throughout her years. So this is why I say this and why specifically I handled the voice is because my voice was taken away. I feel like my voice didn't, was, not being able to speak up in that space because I felt dumb, I felt stupid, I felt whatever it was, whatever I was carrying. Anyone else, I would like to say thank you, Charlene. That was great.
Good morning, Dr. Cheryl. This is Robin.
Good morning, Robin. How are you this morning?
I am well. It's interesting, but I had a different experience about my voice. That when I did speak, people listened, people wanted my voice, but I couldn't understand why. Because,
Mm,
like you said, we were conditioned to think that our voice did not matter. So I would invalidate my voice when I was in rooms that I felt I didn't belong or that I shouldn't be there, and ask myself, why were they listening? You
mm,
know, what made my voice special? So I would invalidate my own self. I would say, okay, I said my opinion. It was received. It was even asked for, but I couldn't accept that my voice really mattered. And I find that I find that it made me not sit in my power, not sit in the leadership that I had been called to, and would self sabotage because I didn't believe that my voice really mattered. So, thank you for this. Thank you for bringing those things back to memory for me.
oh my, you know, you said so much in that in this little space that you said, and thank you for being so transparent. Now I know I have met Mark Robin um for a little while. But what I've known about her voice is that her voice commands power. And for her to say that just now, I would have never believed that she thought that at one time for herself. And I'm always saying to Robin, "Oh yes, please give your opinion." And so many of us are having these scripts in the back of her head. I would have never known that. I would have never known that she thought that about her. But there's a validating piece here that she said, I invalidate my own voice. How many of us do that? That we invalidate our own voice, that script in our head, that she used to think her own voice in these rooms didn't, like, almost didn't belong. So she would second guess herself. How many of us second guess ourselves? And then for us, when we stop looking at this and stop, and she knew that her voice, she knew what she had to say, but she was invalidating her own voice. And when she talked about self sabotage, how many of us do this? Sometimes we don't even realize in the time that we're doing it. Sometimes we don't even realize that we actually are shrinking our chances because we're self-sabotaging. We're saying to ourselves when we walk into the room immediately invalidate our own voice or convince that I don't belong there. Why are they choosing me? Why did they say something to me? And when you look at this, I even when you have the experience, the expertise, why would they want to listen to me? But that's not humility. So I'm glad she brought this up. That's not humility. That wasn't humility. That's not humility. That is self sabotage that could be wrapped up in our own insecurities about ourselves. And this is where you can begin to shape what you can powerfully see and hear and do for yourself. This is where you can begin to create a space that you can begin to see for yourself. Create the space this week. Create the space the rest of this week. Create it how you can use your voice. Anyone else? Thank you for that, Robin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else? Now,
Big Dr. Cheryl, this is Sophia.
hi, Sophia. How
Hold
are
on.
you?
I'm so sorry. Annalise is inside the hat. You're fine. No, you're okay. I put tape on it. You're fine. You're okay. Anyway, well, I took a lot from that. The idea sometimes that even when you're given an opportunity, you self doubt yourself because can I really do this? Because no one else has ever given me a chance. Or you had the opportunity in the past and people have made it a point to minimize you. So you kind of doubt your own capabilities just through life experiences. And I know that from my own. But it's almost like you still need to reassure yourself and surround yourself in a good circle where people are saying, no, you can do this. You've done this. It's just no one wanted to listen to you. And I mean, even though sometimes your self talk, you also need that reassurance from outside. So I appreciate you because you and I have a very long walk together, but also just knowing that, yes, sometimes you have to keep reminding yourself who you are because in this world, in these realms, it's very easy to forget that, even with family or
Yeah,
certain relationships.
yeah. Sophia, there's a part that you said there that I just wanna. There's a part there that you said that I just wanna preference here because a lot of us may say it. Oh, they don't want to hear from us. You said that. You may not know that you said that. There are things that I know that may be difficult for people to hear, but it's necessary for you to say because that's how you create healthy boundaries. And sometimes that imposter syndrome that we hear about a lot that flies on, throughout the internet streets, the imposter syndrome can be very real. But it's you, all the imposter is another version of that voice that you will condition to say that they don't want to hear me. Where did that come from? How did you make that decision to know that they don't want to hear you? Why does it feel like, no, I'm going to take up some space and I can be heard in a way that you don't have to disrespect anyone? Does that make sense, Sophia? Hopefully she does.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Because in the depths of us, I want us to see when you just around when we're using our voice. And there's other spaces and places that you're going to look at, my worth and all this other stuff. But I just want to look at you actually using your voice that God gave you. You're not a mute, but we've learned to condition ourselves not to speak up. And usually it starts to happen in a space at home. Now, Robin's story is a little different that she shared a couple of weeks ago. That in her household, she was encouraged to speak up. Now, some of our household, like mine, my mother had a swift backhand. I was ready every time I spoke up. However, in the space, I want you to look how clear and how powerful you can be when you understand of owning your own story. And each of us have different stories. Some of it may be that we can relate to one another with, but over time, your past, giving yourself a real chance to stand in your own power. You don't have to minimize anyone to say what you need to say. And then when you start self-doubting your own capabilities, you need to look and see, where did this come from? And those imposter syndromes isn't a mystery. A lot of us walk around saying, I don't want to hear that, whatever it is that's going on. It keeps you small. All right? So today, this week, I want you to begin to see how you can stand in your power, speak with your power, and that you don't need a permission slip. This is not high school. You don't need a permission slip to walk down the hall. You can stand in your power now. Anyone else that would like to share anything that may stood out for them today at all? Well, all right. I want to thank you all for joining me today. Go ahead and join us on all the social media platforms. Share it out. You can relook at um, this section, this power call. Share it out. Let someone else know that it's happening, that it's clear as could be. Listen, you're getting your power back. I believe this year is your year to get your power and stand in it. Recovery, your voice recovery is a space where you can find your voice, speak with power, move with power. And today could be a day. All right? Remember, your voice matters. Peace and blessings, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Until next time. Thank you for showing up.
You are enough. Your voice is divine. Now speak.